By now, you're probably starting to notice that some of these patches are pretty robust and big. A simple piano type patch with some effects on it, mixing together with a layer of gamelan, is loading in at 362 megabytes of your RAM. So 3 of these sounds, when you load them up, can take up a whole gigabyte of RAM. And you can start to go, wow, that's really going to eat up my processing power fast. However, you're allowed to prioritize in Omnisphere what sounds are going to get the most power. And if you've got some sounds that you want to use that sound, but you might only be using it for one quick passage, or you might only be using it as part of a layer of a bigger sound, you can allow Omnisphere to optimize that sound for you to decrease its RAM footprint. And that's called using the light version. Right down here, you'll see a handy little button that lets you just pop up the light version of any patch. So instead of taking up 360 megabytes of RAM, it'll take up substantially less. You'll see the loading area in the upper left load up the sound light and then show complete. If I tap it again, it has to load it up again. So you can see the difference in how long it takes to load this patch. It can load up the light version almost instantly. It can load up the other version about a second. And if you listen, you can try to hear the difference in sound. Now the light version. There's not too much difference in this particular sound. So what's it doing? Let's take a deeper look. I'll click on the magnifying glass. And right there you can see that the memory used instead of 362 megabytes is going to be only 47 megabytes. And you've got options for how it's going to handle this light version. So round robin samples, for example, right now it's using none. If I go to no limit and use the full amount, well, I'm still clocking in there at 18, so I guess there's not a lot of round robins in here. You can take out the velocity samples above a certain level. You can get rid of legato samples, so a lot of guitar-based instruments might have a sample of you playing from one guitar note to the next. And you can decide what type of intervals should it use the samples for. So will it load up all of the samples, or will it only use minor thirds? And there you see it just increased my memory use to 35 megabytes. So instead, I can tell it to use fifths. And now it decreased it to 11. So you can decide how light do you want to go. How important is that sound to you? And if you can't hear a difference without straining, and you're about to play a huge giant arena tour, maybe you don't care. Maybe you're willing to, strip out some of the samples from that sound, especially if you're going to layer it up in a big thick layer of other stuff. I just love having the ability to decide for myself how drastic I want to go with any given patch. And that's a convention that you'll see with this little magnifying glass in just about everywhere in Omnisphere. Any place that you have the ability to zoom in and see more information, like the settings or the tags, you can click on that and open it up and go a little bit deeper into the current mode that you're working in.